mine it at a good price. But
Not to worry about us, we've already been caught.
have you seen any
Delicate sauce. Delicious.
And can you answer our question?
Golden Valley, the only microwave.
Do you know?
Confucius say nuggets of wisdom are never as tasty as these.
Once you get into the profession, once you turn professional, it ends up eventually being kind of a small world. Actually, a small world began for me right in the very beginning when I first started out. I made the trek to New York City. I was there for about 7 months, and it takes a while, to get your pictures and resumes and all this stuff together. And I had not even completed that. I was not I was not even ready to begin properly with all the right equipment. But I saw in a trade paper, they have a couple of trade papers at that time, these little weekly sort of show business newspapers. One was called Show Business, I think, and the other was Backstage. And there would be some auditions that would be announced, particularly auditions that did not go through a talent agent. So in New York, you are very much into making the rounds and trying to audition and prove yourself. I'll talk to you sometime about the difference between that and Los Angeles. But so I wasn't even, starting, and I saw this announcement for an audition for a very respected off-Broadway theater called the American Place Theater, and they had an audition, and there was a part that was, right for me. So I ended up auditioning for that, even though I didn't have, all of the necessary stuff, and I auditioned for it, and they seemed to be very interested. I left, with, I don't know what I left them with. I didn't even have a proper headshot, resume, all of this. I think I left them with just sort of kind of an application filled out or some crazy thing like that. I can't quite remember. But I wanted that experience, and I wanted to do it, and I, just wanted, I think more than anything, to get my feet wet. Never expecting anything to come of that. And what came of that really influenced not only my getting it together to get the right things, for proper auditioning and so forth and breaking into the business, but it also influenced something in the 7 years after that. So I went up for my first theater audition, right? A union play, an equity play, very respected American Place Theater, and I didn't have everything that was needed. One of which is, in those days, before there were cell phones, before there was email, the actors would have to have what was called an answering service. This was in the days of payphones. Remember those things? Where I used to always carry a bunch of change in my pocket, because what happens is, if the agent or the casting wants to get a hold of you, you have to have this 24-hour service where they call and they leave. It's a message service. And there's a live person that answers, and they take down the message, and then they either try to find you, or else you're always supposed to be calling in, every couple of hours during the workday. That's why you carry a lot of change for the payphone. This was in those days. This was even before there was like pager was popular or whatever. Do you know what that is? Anyway, what happened was I went in and auditioned. I thought it went well. I remember screaming in the empty theater there. You know, they audition you there out in the center of the audience, about half a dozen, 8 rows, in the center orchestra, and I was yelling, hey, or whatever. So I was coming out of some kind of a daze or something like that. Anyway, what happened was they wanted me to come back on a callback for the part. And it was a good size, good part. And they had no way of getting a hold of me, because I didn't even have an answering service set up at that time. I certainly didn't have a phone. How are you going to get a hold of this guy to get him back into a callback for the part in the play? They ended up mailing me a letter. Okay, with a postage stamp on it, because I put where I was living. Now, where am I living? I'm living with 2 other guys in a third story walk up, cold water. That means there's no hot water. Cold water walk up above an Irish bar in the Garment District. I think it was 34th and 5th Street. And my name is not even on the mailbox, because I didn't sign the lease. So it took kind of a while, and eventually there's this letter for you. My name, care of, right? I open it up, and they wanted to see me. We want you to come in for a callback for that part. And it was like the next day, or I forgot, but it was like right away. It could have even been that day that I finally got the letter. So I ended up rushing over, and again, I still don't have all of the stuff. I still don't have a headshot even. And I ended up auditioning, and this time when I got up on stage, I could tell there was a difference before I even started. I don't blame them. It's completely my fault, okay, doing something before I was ready professionally. And they weren't antagonistic or anything, or mad at me or anything. It was just kind of like, well, you did good, but I don't, go ahead, Quite a difference than the first time. I did not get the part, of course, because, I don't know what they thought of me at that point. But that's a good lesson. However, this actually was tied into, not as a result of, a movie, a principal part in a movie that I got 7 years after that.